everybody. Get started. Cool. Well, thanks for joining on a Saturday. I know it's been a while. Life hits you in weird ways. I moved to Texas. I've had a winter storm for the last week. That's been pretty fun. Before that, had to deal with COVID and things like that. So unfortunate, but back at it and also feel stronger than we ever have. So that's kind of the things that happen. And what do? You live your life and you keep going. So I've been pretty quiet since January. You probably know now why, which is mostly due to really just weather, not feeling so great. I think my kid they had a daycare scare for COVID, and I think that actually kind of found itself to everyone. So I think I had it, but then again, I don't know. I didn't really feel like terrible. It's just that I just didn't feel enough energy at night, and also not really enough energy in general just to stream and make content and things like that. Outside of work, I was just kind of wanted to do other things. So we are back though, which is great, and a lot of fun, exciting things that are happening. So one thing I wanted to talk about today is we're going to be kind of learning a little bit more with CLIs. I started back, I want to say the new year, this idea of life CLI. And Notion, unfortunately, has very strict API alphas and betas and all this other type of stuff. So more or less they give those access to the APIs to people who are really prominent in the community. And I'm not really that prominent in the Notion community, to be honest. I use the tool, but I don't really post much about Notion in general. So we didn't get a key for the first round, and also I don't even think they have much capabilities with that. So it's kind of made me think do I continue on that project? And the answer to me was that if I can't use Notion, I'd have to build a lot of stuff myself. So I'm kind of moving on to still following the spirit of CLIs and learning about them and building them, but at the same time kind of moving to a different project. So if we do see Notion APIs come back anytime soon, we will go back and work on the live CLI. But right now, as it kind of stands, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen until, I don't know, later on this first quarter or even down the line. So a lot of companies are kind of under a lot of pressure. So we'll see what happens. So this is a new project. It's called .NET Score. It's something I'm working on. If you are new to the .NET community, I want to talk about basically package management and what this project is. So in most different development communities, you have an idea of what's known as a package management ecosystem or just a package ecosystem. So if you're in the JavaScript ecosystem, you might have npm. If you are a Python developer, you might have PyPy. If you're a Java developer, you might have Maven. Maven. I don't remember. I thought Maven repository is a separate thing. We'll see. Yeah. So you have all these different, they're kind of front ends to the actual package management ecosystem of what you would consume in a project. So how these kind of work is that you'll see all these different packages. So this one might be AWS for Java. This one might be a database API, things like that. And so each one of these are different packages that you can include into your projects to then use that code for any purposes. So if you're using PyPy, for example, you might have a popular package for, I don't know, maybe even TikTok, right? So you have you would search for the package that you want to use, and then you can include these into your projects to more or less use that code. So here's one, for example, a TikTok scraper. I can install this using this command, and then I can now use that code inside of my project to do something like TikTok scraper. I might be able to call a username, for example. So, there's usually a README and how to get started and all these different types of things. So One thing that doesn't really exist on a lot of these package management ecosystems is a concept of like, how do you know that this is good code? Like, how can you trust that the author is like verified, or that they wrote quality code? Like all these different types of things. So all different ecosystems are different. NPM does this a little bit differently. So they're actually probably the more on like kind of like the bleeding edge of like pushing what package management should be. So if you wanted to look at something like TypeScript, for example, you'll see a lot of cool things. Like the first thing is like you'll see on this right side, there's these like little metrics. Like P might mean, I think, popularity, Q is quality, and then M is maintenance. So I can see from a glance as I'm looking through packages that I might want to include that, you know, this is a really popular package, like 86%. So to me, associating something like popularity with a package is usually pretty standard, right? Like you might use Node, you might use React, you might use TypeScript. And so you can say, okay, this is a popular package. I'm going to use it because there's a huge ecosystem around that package. Like let's look at React, for example. If you look at React, you know, very similar. Popularity is pretty high up there. Let's see what it is. 89%. So there's these different things that will help you understand what that is. You can also filter based off of like if a package is maintained. So if you wanted to use a library and you wanted to ensure that the author was always updating it, you know, you might just filter purely based on maintenance. And then you would see like some packages are maintained 100% of the time, meaning that they're always getting new commits, or their GitHub is really active, like those type of things. So what we're going to do, if you aren't familiar with like NuGet or dotnet, is that we're going to do something similar on the dotnet ecosystem. So for like packages, you might type in something like we can just go and see all the packages that there are. There's nothing that will really tell you at a glance like if a package is popular outside of a download count. You can't really see if something is totally maintained other than to see when it was last published. If you were to click on any of these, there's not really many things to let you know like should you use this package other than downloads and kind of like when it was last published. So we're going to be building a way to validate these packages. How we're going to do that is really interesting. So I'm going to kind of dive into how I'm thinking about this, and then kind of what I've already written, and also kind of just extending it on the stream today. So the first thing is that what a package really is for any of these ecosystems is that, you know, you can just download these things as more or less a zip file, and they're usually called tarbells, or like this one, for example, is a tar. But like you can download any type of package from any place, and then you can have it. So like this one, for example, is called a new package, like new package, NUPKG. It's just a format specific to like .NET, but it's more or less a glorified zip file. So like you can open these, and again, these things more or less just come in as zip files. So if I were to actually rename the extension from new package to zip, I would extract it and see all these contents on this right side. This is just a little helper tool to visualize what's inside of these. But there's two components to most packages, and this goes with every single package that you might have. Like npm, for example, I'd have to find where their actual download is. I don't know. I don't think you can download it directly from their website, but if I were to install it locally, it'd have the same idea. You would be downloading this folder into your project. So if I were to type in npm install React, then that would go directly into my like project, and then I'd be able to look at what the contents are. So there's two different components to like packages for the most part. You have this idea of like what's the metadata inside of it, and then you have the idea of what's inside of what's actually inside of the package. So metadata for the most part is usually like some type of like XML or JSON or any type of like file to show what like the, how you specify the package. And then the other side is what's inside the package. So what are all the files that are inside of your package? So if you kind of look at this, you can actually see a little bit easier of what this might look like. But on the metadata side of things, there's different elements to tell you what is inside of this package. So for example, one of the big ones would be, I want to follow a schema. This is a package. So it's just like the highest level element. You dive in to then say like, here's all the metadata for this package. So the big ones you might see is like an ID. Well, the ID is going to be the name that you're going to be kind of using when you install it. So it's the same thing of if I were on the NPM side, npm install React, well, the ID is React. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just like an identifier for the most part. Most of these metadatas also have like versions. So if you're not familiar with what versioning is in package management, you have this idea of SEMver, which is semantic versioning. So how this works in the software industry, you actually see a lot of versioning based off of semantic versioning. So any product that you're going to be using is going to probably follow semantic versioning to a T. They might not be like directly influenced by it, but it's going to follow it enough. So if I were to open up any of like my programs on my computer, so let's open up this IDE that I'm using. If I go to my about section, you'll see that this has two version numbers. You have 2020.3. So that's kind of following semantic versioning. Let's actually go back and talk about what semantic versioning is. So keep that in mind. There's two here. So semantic versioning has this idea of a major, minor, and a patch version. What that means is that anytime that you say you're building your library and you need to make a breaking change or you add a new feature that's not really backwards compatible, you're going to increase the major version. So for 2020, like this example of this IDE that I was using, which is JetBrains Writer, 2020.3, that 2020 element will be updated whenever new features that will more or less break this IDE in the future come into play. So next year or something similar would say like 2021, and then I know that this IDE is not going to be compatible with the future IDE. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just a way to increment your versioning. So the second one is a minor version. And what a minor version really is that whenever you add functionality that is compatible, like in a backwards fashion, then you just increase that version and then anything can be used with it. So if I built my project using this IDE and I use 2020.3, if I say 5 months down the road installed this new IDE 2020.5 or something similar, I would then be able to have a compatible IDE to use my code with. So hopefully that makes sense, right? It's backwards compatible, meaning that as long as it's on the same major version, everything should still work. So if I were to load up my project that I previously built today in the future, I should still be able to use this program. So that doesn't give you that guarantee though when you're on like a 2021 version, right? So if it was 2 years in the future and then I updated my IDE to 2021, it wouldn't work, right? Because there's new features, new functionality, all that stuff. Most are pretty good about compatibility, but for the most part, that's why major versions exist. So it's no different when you are building a library. Whenever you add new functionality, you're always going to be adding a major version. So let's talk about the patch versions, because patch versions are interesting because some people use them, some people hide them, some people for the most part will just do minor. Like it's kind of interesting. You'll see like different builds. So this one, for example, says build, I think that was at RD 2035981, like this whole build number, right? That build number more or less is going to be used as their patch version or as their hash onto the patch. So it's more or less just a way that they can increment as they build. So if they made a change to code and then they committed it and added it to GitHub, this is going to increase by 1. Like 141 might be like the current build, might be 142 the next time. And this can go, hundreds, if not thousands of times, because as you're building a product, especially over a long period of time, you build quite often, right? You're going to probably build maybe a few times a day, maybe even more. It just depends on what your kind of systems are. So keep that in mind when we're talking about like this whole idea of like package management here. So patch versions are basically when you just more or less make fixes to like issues, and maybe you add like data or some type of thing to like help you understand your own library. So they're more or less things that won't really affect the product other than fixing things, and it's not going to change behavior. So that is what like semantic versioning is in a nutshell. Some of these ecosystems follow it to a T. You'll actually see like React, for example, version is exactly semantic versioning. It has 3 elements: a major, a minor, and a patch. You might look at something like PyPy. And PyPy, let's look at the version. So the version is very similar, 1.0.3. So they follow it a little bit closer. You might look at Maven. Maven has the same idea, where you might have a version that says like 1.11.959. So it's very similar. But then you have other ecosystems, like for example, this is NuGet, and it has a little bit, it's a little bit different. You will see that there is still 3 elements, right? A major, a minor, and a patch. But you'll notice that there's a hyphen, which means that it's more or less just saying like, here's a pre-release version that can then be incremented. So it's just it's semantic versioned inspired, and it doesn't follow it to a T per se. And you'll also see like potentially different versions and things like that. So that's like what semantic versioning is in a nutshell. So we have to keep that in mind, because libraries that will follow semantic versioning, for the most part, are a little bit more compatible, like in terms of following the guidelines. So if I was using this library and I installed this 2.10.1, if I then try to install the 3.10.1 or 3.0 library, like in my project in the future, that's not going to necessarily be compatible, right? You're going to potentially be installing a broken package. So the reason why this is important is because when we tell users that, hey, I built this library and I'm making a new change to it, we need to let the users know that when they try to install it, things probably won't work. So that's kind of what the idea is here. So let's go back to here. So like, let's look at versions, for example. You'll see that there's like a version 17.0.1 and then 16.14. Well, this one above is going to be a feature release, meaning that it's not going to necessarily be backwards compatible with the 16 version. But you'll notice that there might be like a 16 version. They have a lot of experimentals here. Yeah, I forget that NPM doesn't like show everything in order. It's just based off of when it was actually published. So let's look for another version. So here's another one. Like you have a 16.13.1, then you have a 16.13.0. So they just fix issues in between those 2 libraries. Let's look at another one. 16.12. Well, they added, some backwards compatible features to this from 16.12 to 16.13. So that's kind of like semantic versioning in a nutshell. And again, this is used everywhere. Any tool that you use probably follows a version scheme that's close to semantic versioning. There's a lot of different thoughts on it. Semantic versioning is not perfect, obviously, but for the most part, it's a good start. So I want to give you that background because this is important when it comes down to like how we think about package management. But at the same time, we're building a tool to more or less score a package based on how well they follow all of the best practices. So one of the best practices is semantic versioning. So let's talk about going back into this example with like what the metadata is and what the contents are. So when I'm building this tool, what I want to do is more or less I want to be able to download a package from the internet, and I want to be able to open up that package view its contents, and then also view the metadata that comes with that package. And then I want to be able to say like, did you do this right? And then more or less give it a score. So it might be like, did you do a semantic version correctly? And then I might say, well, out of 5 points, you did that right. You get 5 points out of 5 points. For other things, there's going to be a lot of other things like, did you add tags? So tags might be a way that you can easily search for a package. Well, a lot of people might not use this feature, so they might not even add tags to their package, and therefore it's not as discoverable as it could be. So we might say like, if you don't have tags, you might want to consider adding the tags. So these are all just type of best practices that we're trying to add into this scoring thing. So without further ado, I don't want to dive into too much because I'm gonna do a little bit of coding and kind of figuring out like what some of the next steps are. But what we want to consider is that we have this metadata that we can read and kind of give an idea of what a best practice might be. And then we have the contents of, is this structured in a way that we believe is a best practice? So what I'll show you is I'll show you something that I've been working on. So how this kind of works is this is a CLI tool. And this CLI tool uses different validation things to validate those items. I haven't really gotten too far with it. I only spent like an hour on it so far. But what this will do is that if I were to look at like my console app that I'm building, so like dotnet, I think score.dll, and then score, and then I can type in any library name that I want. So let's go back and let's just see what we have. So let's do, I don't really like this one, because let's do this version. So Serolog is the name. So we can type in that and we'll say like Serolog and then the version number. So when I do this, .NET DLL, I think it's score. Okay. So how this kind of works is that when I type in a package and the version number, I go and I download it from the internet, and then I bring it in and I have that metadata and I have the contents that I can now work with. So how this kind of will show then is it'll show a more or less a table of all the things that I've scored for so far. So when we look at this, we'll say provides a valid new spec. So all the new spec is that it's that package metadata. When I look at this, you'll see that it says .newspec. It's just the name of the metadata file that I'm using. So then I have all these different rules. So if the package description, for example, is too short, I'm going to say add some more details to it. So use 60 to 180 characters or something like that. This right now is all just, I think, a lot of these are test inputs. So this one actually might have a decent description. So it actually doesn't. For this one, it only has like 6 or 7 words. So this one actually would fall under the rules. But these are the type of things, is that we want to be able to see and add best practices when we kind of look through them. So some of the best practices might be, if you're a page, you'll see all these different like things that show up, and they're different for a lot of different packages. So this one you can see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like there's a lot there. But if I were to just find like a random package with not many downloads, like maybe this one, no, that one has a little bit more. Let's find a smaller one here. How about this one? So like this one, for example, has less because they didn't define everything in their metadata. They don't have like a Git repository, although they have a project site that they can put that GitHub in. You'll notice that like there's a little bit of a difference. If we go back to this Serolog idea, you have this source repository. It's a different icon and all that different type of stuff. So there's different like URLs that are not being added. So we need to double check those and go through this whole like scoring concept. So let's kind of walk through some of the code that I've written already. How this kind of works is that let's jump into the commands. So this is a single command project right now, and it has this idea of what is a score command. So whenever I typed in that this score, right, that is the command that will fire. So I type in .net and then score. The reason I had to put a DLL here is purely because I should be able to download this and run it as a tool, and we're testing it in a local environment, so that's why we had to do that. But in the future, this would go away and it would just be called .net score, whatever the package name is. So this package score command, what it does right now is I created a NuGet service, which is going and talking to basically the NuGet website. And then I'm creating a package context, which is all the details about the package that I know about, if I can even get them. So like if I tried a version that probably doesn't exist, right, like 3.0 or something, like it doesn't work because we have no clue that this doesn't work. So I don't even have an error case for this right now, but that's the idea, is that we got to make sure that these things are, try-catched or have some type of exception, all that other type of stuff, but we haven't got to that point yet, so we don't really worry about it too much. So the other thing too is like when we create these, we'll jump into these classes in just a second, but for the package contexts, I have to go out to that NuGet service to basically populate both of those concepts I was talking about. So one of them is a get new spec from the package. So that's basically saying, hey, go grab me this metadata file that's hosted on the internet somewhere. And then the other one is go get me the actual, so like that's the new spec one. So the new spec's actually in the package. So go and download the package and then open up that new spec for me. And then the second one is the metadata. So go to this other provider and grab the metadata that we know about that's on the website. So they're two separate services that we have to talk to, and that's why we have to do that. And then more or less we're just dumping the score and showing everything. So these things get a little bit more involved. So like if I were to go to it, just like see where I'm using this, like how this is kind of working is that there's a lot of different methods inside. So I can say, I want to grab the latest NuGet version. I'm actually not using this anywhere, but I was previously, where I can just type in .NET score and then the ID, and then I'll go grab that. I'll go grab that version for the user and go from there. But that seemed a little overkill at first. The other things too are like download NuGet packages. Well, I actually refactored this code. I don't really need it anymore. So other things that I have in here is like, I now want to read the package metadata. This stuff isn't needed anymore because now I'm scoring things on a whole separate class. But the things that I am using are things like go get the metadata from the package. Here's the context of the package that I'm talking about. Go to the server, grab the resource, and then just grab that metadata and read it. I have other things too, like, hey, create me a table and show me all the stuff in the console. And then I have like the new spec. So go in and grab the new spec from the package. So there's a lot of different things in here. And there's even things like get a valid new spec. So now I'm starting to score these things where I can say, here's my new spec validator, and we can talk about what that is. But when I have like a validator here, I'm basically adding all these rules to then validate that all that data. So for example, one of them might be like, here's the new spec reader, grab the description, and if the length is not between 60 to 180, throw that message, right? Other things too, like if the package doesn't have an icon, like let's basically say like add an icon for your package. So there's a lot of these different things. So one of the things that I need to work on is I have this dump score method, and I need to make it smart because right now it's very hard coded and it has all these elements. So for this dump score, how this works is that I have this tree that I'm creating. So like a tree is just kind of like this. You see a tab, like let's actually look at it. So like the tree is this. You start at like the top, you create a leaf, you create another leaf, and all that type of stuff. A lot of these actually have like rich emojis and stuff like that, but they're not displaying because Windows doesn't actually support emojis really well. So a lot of this development is actually done on like Mac and Linux, where those things actually come out of the box. So we won't be able to see any emojis. That sucks, but we'll see if we can make that happen in the future. If not, we'll just color the text like green or red or something like that. So now what I need to do is that a lot of this stuff is hard coded, and I need to kind of go through those rule sets. So what I'm going to do is kind of look into both of these codes. So one of them is that I'm dumping the score and like it's not getting any data here. So what I need to do is I need to send in the package context or something similar, so that this method is a little bit smarter to actually use that. So the question is, oh, let's see. Is that Mr. Beast coding? I haven't played Valorant for a really long time, so I need to jump back on the game. But I haven't played since I think they added a new hero. I just haven't, and a new map and all that stuff. I haven't played it since. Been playing League and schoolwork. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is basically, for this node, I gotta make it dynamic. So I just need to create these things for the package context. But what I need to kind of think about is for the package context, like if I look at this actual, if I look at this class that I've been creating, I don't think that it will support everything I need to right now, because it doesn't really have a score. Right now it has all the information about a package. So what we need to do is inside, like right here, right after this, we need to create a score, like a scorecard, and pass the package context into here. So that's kind of where we're at with regards to this. So the scorecard is something I already have been working on a little bit. I have this new class called score, and then it includes like a score report. So we're going to kind of think about like, do we even need like this object? Score report might just be enough because it already has all these lists of score sections. So maybe we'll just call score report score. I don't even know why we had a separate one. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll just get rid of this class, and we'll put it right here. Because I think we wanted like a score, which was like a score report and like a score summary. And I think that's kind of what we were thinking. Yeah, so we'll keep score. It should be okay that way. So now what we need to do is we'll go into this class and we'll call just score is fine. But we'll just create a new score class, right? And as we create this thing, we want to populate it with, oh wait, we'll have to see. It's like models not get like imported, right? I wish I could do that. It should be, yeah, something like that. Huh. All right. That's weird. Oh, is this? Yeah, it's on the same namespace, so. Okay. So yeah, what we'll do here is for the scorecard, we basically have to create like a new we have to create like a new scorecard inside here. And that's the hard part, is like we're kind of thinking of how we want to do all this, and I haven't quite figured out what I want to do. So if I say like score dot oh, is that why? Is everything private? That's why. We need some public. I don't know what I was doing last night. Yeah. Well, we'll at least be able to like, I think this is fine. Yeah. So that one should be fine. Okay, I was wondering why that wasn't working. So if I said new score report, and then I can even chain this too. This is gonna look really, really bad, but if we said something like new, actually let's do, this is follows NuGet conventions. So if we created like something like this in here, and then we'll do like a new score section. I mean, I wouldn't do this like score with a quick object. So inside of the score section, what do we have in here? Title, ID, max score, all that type of stuff. So, okay. So we'll say like the title is going to be, let's go to the score dumper class and just grab. So title is going to be this, follows NuGet convention. Yeah. We're going to have a ID. I don't think we need. That should be fine. So current score, we'll just kind of make these up right now. We'll just say like 2, max score is 5, and then a new summary. I think it's a list of summary. We'll say summaries equals new. We'll start with that. And then inside of the summary, we'll say a new summary of basically the issue and the resolution. So if we don't have any issues, it's fine. We don't need a summary, but we can add a few. So let's just kind of mock what we already had. So going back to the dumper class here, we had this idea of the package is too short. So these things should more or less be generated from the actual, like the actual validation code. So I don't want to like code too much of like mock objects too much, like, because it's just not going to necessarily be needed. So what we'll do is inside a dump score, we'll take in a score object. Okay, and then. I don't know why writer never does that, but okay. So from the score object, we're basically going to need to create a tree. So before, yeah, this will work fine. So right here, we're going to, so follow NuGet conventions. We're going to say score dot, how does that not want to work? Sorry. Score dot in the report. We might have a column. So maybe we actually just say for each of the items here. Yeah. Okay. So we'll say for each var score in, or sorry, var score section in score dot score report dot I think it should be that, right? Let's see. Score report dot, what is it? So all these lists. Yeah, so we're going to need to do it for each different one. So we'll start with follow NuGet conventions. Yeah, this will work out fine. And we're going to, we'll have to like create a new table outside of the scope. And then we'll say table dot. That should be fine. For the tree nodes, though, the tree nodes are going to need to... Well, let's see. For each score section in here, all we want to do for the score section is add a tree node. So we're going to need a tree that's outside of it too. So provides valid new spec. We're going to, we'll do this and say score dot, oops. Oh wait, we're actually already, plus score dot report dot, let's see, valid new spec. Yeah, I think this dot. So we're gonna have to iterate through a lot of things. So let's go back to what we had. So I gotta rethink about this because I don't remember what I did with my models. So for this, we have a score, which goes into a score report. The score report has different lists of score sections. So it has 5 different score sections. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So inside of the dumper class has 5 score sections, and we need to iterate on those, and then they each have a score section. So these are 5 lists of score sections. So for each one of those, we need to generate a tree and nodes for that. And then for each score section, we also need to have a table. So all this code underneath it is going to be from the iterator. So we'll say, so our for each actually will just be up here instead. But we'll have to think about the table. We'll come back to it because the table might have to be out of scope because we want to add things into that table. So we'll figure it out. So adds a new table. So we'll start here, and then, so for each one, for each one inside of here is just going to be the score section. The score section has the current score, the max score, and the title. So that's fine. We don't, yeah, okay. So at the top here, we're going to need to create a table. So we'll say var table equals new table. That's because we want the whole table for the whole score. So we'll remove this one, and we'll just call this like, we'll say like table, because then it can add all this stuff into it. So while we're getting into this with a tree, the tree is going to be, it's going to need a conditional, but we'll leave the emoji there for now. So the tree comes in and it is going to be the score section. Yeah, plus score section dot title. Okay. So once we're inside of the tree, we're going to create a node. So we're going to say var node, and we're probably going to need to put a for each loop here. So we'll say for each var score section summary in score.score report dot follow. Well, that's the hard part. No, that should be fine. That should be fine. And then dot summaries or all or something. What do we have here? For each of those, I thought we had a list of something. Are those private? Probably. A list of summaries. Score section summaries is what it's called. Okay. Score section don't think I can iterate that far in, can I? It would actually be for each var score summary in score section dot summaries. Yeah. So inside here, we're going to then create that node. So this one. Okay, so we'll say var node, and then we'll say node.add node. Wait. Yeah. So I don't know if I want to call it tree. I don't want to call it node. So we'll rename these things. But so this tree is going to be the score section. So we'll rename these things. So score section tree. And then the node is going to be the score section tree.add node. And then the node here is that it's going to be the issue. So we'll say issue node. And then inside of here, we're going to add the score section summary dot issue, and then underneath it I want to put the resolution of how you can fix this. So in the issue node, I'm going to add another node, and then in there is going to be the resolution. So right here is just going to be maybe we'll add a color to it. I think that sounds cool. So we'll add red, because that might work. And then score section summary dot resolution, right? So that should at least get us the tree. Now we got to figure out how we're going to do the table. So the table, for the most part, should come second, because we got to create all those reasons before we add the table. So the rendering here, we'll actually have to see what's going on with this. Is there an extra? Yeah. So ANSI console dot render, or is it not in scope? Let's see, where's that scope? Yeah, it wasn't in scope. So ANSI console dot render. And then in here, I just care about rendering that table, because the table is adding this tree. I gotta make it better. So this one's called the score section tree. And then how we're gonna do this is we have the score report, and then I want to add a score dot score report dot, let's see, follows NuGet convention dot, no, I don't think that's what I want. We're gonna have to think about this one, because like what I'm doing right now is I'm adding the score report. That doesn't really do anything for me, because I want the total score and I want the points here. So let's see. I think the score report has that information, doesn't it? No, it's on the, it's right here. So the score sections would already be adding it. Let's see. So we're going to need one of these for each different area. So we add that. So we might want to say score section instead of score. Or even, because where is score coming from? Oh, yeah, that's right. So score section dot Is this max score or current score? Oh, no, this is just the title. So we're going to do the same thing for each one. So this would be title. This is going to be current score section dot title. And then we say score, total score, but then inside of each row, that's where this needs to come in. So this would be like this one, for example, it needs to be score section dot, let's see if yeah, current score to string. And then actually, can I make that nicer? Just like, can I do this? I think I can, right? Oh, did I lose something like that? That looks way nicer. So the same thing here. And then get rid of that. Get rid of that. Add this. Add this. Oh, does that not want to work? Let's try it again. Let's let the IDE do it for us. Okay, that's better. And then max score, right? So that will get me there. And then now I need to add a row for each different score for each different score item. So the issues and resolutions are already in here, and I add them here. Do I actually have, So if I already create this, I might want to, we're gonna have to have some logic in here eventually. So like this one says, if there's basically, we're gonna have like an if statement here. Actually all the way up here with the tree. Cause like this is where the title comes in and it should be okay. So we need to do like a if the score section has no issues, just do the tree markup. Otherwise, add issues and resolutions. So we're basically going to have to go through each one of them. So we gotta add some type of conditional here. We'll just say like score section, if score section dot let's see, dot summaries. I want to say, I don't know what we want to do here. Maybe I can even have like a status or something. But like the summaries come from the validation. So we need to populate those two. Oh, status. But status for the most part is just like if it worked or not. So we're gonna have to build something. I'm not sure what we're gonna build here. So for now, we'll just say summaries dot exists should be okay, and then we'll just say dot issue or whatever. Actually, what do I want to say? I don't know. I don't know what I want to do there. I'm gonna have to think about it. I think I'm just gonna need to add something like the status. I think status was the one I wanted to do. So like status would be like errors or it worked. So let's just do that. So if score. Oh, that's weird. It's kind of bugging out. if score section dot status is not equal, yeah, let's just do this. Score section status, and then in there we'd go and add the nodes, right? I think something like that. Well, no, I don't really like that. It's really bad. Because like we definitely, the tree is going to get created regardless. So that's okay. Okay, yeah, this is fine. This is fine. So now for tables, we don't really have to do, we don't have to do too much other than iterate for each score section tree. So score sections are going to be created. So for each score section, we're going to create a tree. And that tree is going to have all these elements and a new table for it. So this is going to look really weird. I think we wanted to create one table, which we're doing. And then in that table, all I cared about was adding rows. So let's take this content out and see if we can just add it like table dot and then go like this. Let's see. We're definitely going to need that at the top somewhere. You know, let's just kind of like see what it does when we can figure it out. So let's just go back, see how far we've gone. Because like I don't like this idea of we create a table and then for each one we're like adding a new column. I think this is going to get like super wide for no reason. And then we're just going to add all these rows for no reason too. So because if this thing had 4 or 5 or whatever, we're going to create at least 15 columns. That seems really wrong. So we're going to need a way to figure this out. The problem though is I want the score title to be in the table column. Or do I just create a new table for each one? I don't like that. We'll have to think about it. Like let's go back to what I had already. So this is what I'm thinking. We want these 3. So follows NuGet conventions. So then the top thing would actually, okay. So let's try this again. Instead of score section dot title, we're just going to see. Let's just hard code it for now. Call it a day. Follows NuGet conventions. And this thing needs to go. And go like that for now. And then as we have these columns already, this is then going to add that tree, and therefore we don't need any rows. So if that works, that would be our simplified code. All right. So now we need to go to the dumper class, or the command class, and I need to make a mock object. So this one isn't follows NuGet conventions because we don't need that. It's going to be what I had here. So provides valid new spec is a good one. Provides valid new spec, and I'm gonna have this on the side just for a second. So now we're going to add a new summary. So like the issue for this one was the package description is too short, right? And then the resolution was, let's just copy it and paste it over. Be easier that way. Oh wait, that's Windows Terminal. Should work. No? I thought Windows Terminal allowed you to do that. I guess not. Let's just type it then. Add more detail to the description field of the new spec. Let's just do that for now. So that's going to add a new summary. Didn't type. Oh, I guess we don't have to have that. Wait, what does it want to do? Oh, the constructor. Okay. So we had this new score section. I don't really care. I'm just gonna add it anyway. So we have a new score section. It had an issue, so we added it. Let's add another score section. So in this one, we're going to comma, boom. Inside of this one, it's going to say provides valid readme, and we'll say 5 out of 5, and then no issues on this one. So we'll just see what happens. Don't need a comma. Same thing. We'll do another one. And then that one we're going to say, let's actually just switch one of these really quick. All right. And then if I want to tab that, really? I don't like that at all. It won't let me tab it. I mean, I know it's not the prettiest, but that's fine. So now we have a score class. So I now will pass in that score, and then we see what happens. So let's see, did everything? Yeah, build succeeded. So now let's clear the screen and let's see what happens. Here we go. Oh wait, we want to actually download a correct package. So 2.1 will work. Unbalanced markup. All right. So I might have forgot to close a tag somewhere. Let's look. So score dumper class. All right. This is going to require a lot of eyes. It's right here. All right, same thing. Let's try it. Object reference not set to an object. So now we're gonna have to kind of like debug this code. It's gonna be hard though because like these CLIs are, I haven't really found a good way to debug the CLIs, like at least because you can't like run them at the same time. Because I'll show you what I mean. Like I have this console app because that's the way I'm debugging it. Oops. Like this is just like to throw things at it and just see what happens. So we have to look at, we can't run this one as is. So if I were to run this and try to like debug it or whatever, right? It's not gonna work because it's gonna build and it's just gonna run my, it's gonna run it once. So I need to find a way that I can. I just haven't really found a good way to do that. Can't really like just wait for it because this is just not how this thing works. It's not like traditional console apps where you can just wait for input or whatever. You have to. This one, I don't know. I'll have to figure out a different way to debug it, but let's go back to the score dumper and let's just kind of look. Let's see, what are we doing wrong? So in here, so I'm creating a score. I have a new score report, creating a new list. I'm creating a new section. I'm creating a new summary in here. Create a new score section. I don't know why that looks so weird, but it does. Then I'm passing the score in, and inside of the score, where is it? The score dumper. Inside here, I want to say that it's one of these. I think it might be that we're saying follows NuGet conventions. Did I actually put that somewhere? So inside of here, did I put follows NuGet's conventions? So I did. And then there's 3 score sections, so there should be at least 3 in there. And then I'm creating a new tree. Create a new markup, score section title. Those should all have titles, I'm pretty sure, right? Title, yeah. If the score status, so that's the part I think we're messing up on. So if the score section status, so that's where I need to, let's see. I want to say that's where it might be. And this one too is a little bit shaky as well. Like, can I add a row after I've already added columns? I think so, because it all will be added. Current score, max score, issue, resolution. Let's look at what we did again. Issue, resolution. So what I'm thinking is the status on something that does have a summary. I think that needs to say status equals true. I don't think this is going to fix it, but that's at least one thing that we have to do. So still object. Let's see. Score section tree has a check mark. Let's just remove that. We don't need that right now. And then we want to render the table. So let's look at the scope here. The scope is table gets created. It's a new table. We're expanding it and doing all this stuff. So it should at least be a table. I mean, honestly, at this point, like, I hate to write these, but like, why not? If we have no other good way of debugging CLI apps just because of what we have, doesn't even get there. So it's failing. Wait. Score equals new score. That score is being passed in. It has to be getting into the score dumper class for sure. Like, That's for sure. Yeah. So it gets into here, and then I want to say it's here. Right here is where it might be failing. We got to build it. Yeah, we got there. So let's see. We got here. So it went through twice. Is that right? Yeah, it went through twice. So in the score command, right? So there's two elements in here. It went through twice. It went through one. And then it went through two. What is failing here? I don't think it would be that comma. There's no way. Yeah, it's just two. There's gotta be something missing. I'm just not looking. Interpretation of what this means. Oh, sorry. I'm not paying attention, chat. My bad. Each application has 4 distinct unique microservices hosted in 12 separate containers. How many total systems are there, and what does that look like virtualized? Wow. 4 distinct unique microservices hosted in 12 separate containers. So I would say 36 off the top of my head, just because, like, let's load up let's just look at it. Because if you had, like, you know, you had 4 unique distinct unique microservices, right? So I think that's a double saying the same thing, like distinct and unique, right? But hosted in 12 separate containers. Well, the thing about it, in my opinion, at least from how I'm interpreting it, I have no clue what the context is that, you know, these are all going into the container, right? Like, I mean, it doesn't matter. A container, for the most part, is just a specific, you know, this thing can then be repeated 12 times, right? So if that's what I understand, like separate containers, it doesn't matter. Like, these are always going to be the 4 inside of this container. And then if you had 12 containers, you have, you know, 12 of whatever these are. So what is it? How many total systems are there, and what does this look like visualized? So again, you can actually, let's actually bring this forward. So if you, or sorry, backwards. What am I thinking? So if you actually, what am I doing? Does it not want to bring those to the front? Bring to the front. There we go. So if you had that, something like this, you have that times 12. That's what I think when I look at it. So, you know, these containers could be the same things. You just multiply those 12 times, but I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't know from the question. How many tool systems are there, and what does this look like? Because, I mean, you could be running, like, for example, the reason why I say this is, like, if you had, let's add a label. If you had, like, this is your ordering microservice, like, this is your, I don't know, billing. You might have another one like, I don't know, mail
whatever it might be, right? Like all these things like notifications. That's what I think is that, you know, you have these unique different microservices or whatever inside of a container, and then you're running this container onto 12 different, I don't know if it's saying hosted on 12 separate containers in the sense of like, you know, on different like servers or applications. Like, is it 12 applications or is it, I don't know. Because I mean, you got to think of like what Docker is, right? Like, let's go back to, you know, like you look at Docker Hub or whatever. And if you think of it, you type in, I don't know, like Linux or something. You look at Ubuntu, right? Like you're pulling Ubuntu into your Docker container, right? So your Docker could have Ubuntu in it or whatever, but you can also pull a lot of other things too. Like if you wanted .NET or a specific .NET version, I think like .NET Alpine or something. I forget what it's called. I want to say it's like .NET Docker. Somebody would know. It's one of these. What is it? .NET Docker. Yeah. For image for .NET, and then your .NET app could run all those microservices. Yeah. .NET Docker microservices. And then I think there's a book. I read this book recently, but it's that same idea, right? Like you just have a container. So like this book cover actually shows an interesting thought. Like you have a container with whatever you all need, your whole stack. So it could be the OS, the framework, and then the microservices and all the stuff that you need for it. And then you can ship that onto each individual server, wherever you need it, wherever you need to run it, wherever. So I'm not sure about Rider, but catching up on the first run exceptions. Yeah, Rider's been really weird for this project specifically. Like, it doesn't really work for debugging for a lot of things. This is very simple code too, and it's hard because I'm Markdown .NET stuff, but it also has a CLI component to it, and I have no clue how to debug it. So if we went to my program for this is all bootstrap stuff. So I basically create this new app, and then I run it, and that will more or less let me do what I want to do on the command line side of things. I mean, I could technically just like put all this stuff into a console app. Like, I mean, that's another way that I could debug it pretty easily, and then just move everything over to. That's definitely a way. I can just hard code the .NET score things, and I started to do that. It's just I didn't really get too far. You can actually see me doing this with AutoFac, and then I call this, but the big component is rendering all the stuff. So that was my hard part, is I wanted to do that. I don't think I can actually access that, whatever that, what is it, this thing? I guess I could actually, because it is my own. Let's do it. And Rider does not do auto completion well. It takes like 4 times. Okay, so what else did I need? I need to make sure I didn't skip it over anything. These things, all 4 of these things. I guess that's a good thought. So these things, I think I already have them. This result doesn't need to be here. Actually, it's my validation part. We're gonna use that later. So, but do we have everything? I think we do, right? NuGet service, package context, reader, yeah. Let's read. Depends on definition of system, multiple services per container, multiple containers per physical machine. 12 containers powering 4 microservices, or 12 containers per microservice, 12 times 4. Usually the container is the one that contains the services, so I don't think it's like too complicated. Maybe it will be, I don't know. Yeah, I have no clue, IZXP. Like, I'd have to look at what you're kind of doing, or maybe the question or something like that. But usually containers would contain pretty much all your components to run your code. So that's your OS distro, that's your application or framework, that's your microservices that are being run by that framework, and whatever else bootstrapping you need to do. So I would think it'd just be a fairly simple 4 times 12 question, but at the same time, I don't know. Because the other thing too is the wording of the question's interesting. 4 distinct unique microservices, and then comma hosted in 12 separate containers. So that to me could also denote without the context fully. Okay, so let's just debug it then. Let's just do it this way. I hope I wasn't overthinking this the whole time. I mean, I've only been working on this project for a little bit, so. And also the writer debugger does not seem to work with async really well. So I had to move over to just VS Code and the mono debugger. That actually worked pretty well. Let's see. So, gosh, I have not used writer much. So we're going to step over here. Let's evaluate what score looks like. So it has 3. That's what I want. Has the score sections. That's fine. Summary. Has a summary. Has a score. Is it because summaries? Yes. It has to be summaries. I think I screwed up my logic. I think I added a exclamation point. That's why. Why? Why you do this to me? I hope that's what it is. Yeah, it was. But it worked. It's beautiful. I'm okay with it. It worked. I am so that's what happens, right? Let's get rid of all these. I think I got 2 of these, but it worked. So like everything now will be generated how I want it to be generated. And now we can work on the validation aspects. So that's cool. We did a lot. Unit tests. It's too early. Way too early. I've only worked on this for less than an hour. Like I haven't even had much time. I worked last weekend on it, and then I spent like 10 minutes before last night on. I'm like, all right, let's clean this up a little bit. But the next parts are adding all these validation rules. So that should be fairly straightforward. Figuring out what those are is probably the hard part. Readmes, for example, like we don't have readmes for NuGet right now, so I need to rename this one's for release notes specifically. I need to add more validations for using certain TFMs and things like that. So I actually need to probably create one of those later. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff to do. And I need to design a little bit more. I'm not the TDD type person. I was in a different life, but when it comes to these type of tools, it's like just build it. So yeah, so I think we're like at an hour and a half. I'm not gonna go too much longer because I'm gonna go cook some dinner, but what we did was I actually can't show this, but because like we already changed all the code. We had everything hard coded that looked exactly like this, and now we're taking in our score object and rendering it into this cool little markdown. We had to remove all of the emojis though. You'll actually see a little emojis here. So like these are still there, I think. Let's actually double check. I think I added them. Maybe I removed them. Yeah, they're out. So we used to have emojis, but Windows does not support emojis at all. It's so sad. I wish they did, but Terminal doesn't, PowerShell doesn't, Command Prompt doesn't. I'm sure something else does. Just would look so much nicer if you had like a check mark or like an X, at least my opinion. So now the next steps are, I have this book of all the scores that I wrote down. And basically I already have most of it coded. I just need to add all the validations. So a few of the things that I have to do is, we have this one which is follow NuGet conventions. I've done most of that. So it's going to be, I need to add the total score. I need to add like the total amount to here. We can't like hard code everything, I don't think. I mean, we could, but I want to make that a little bit more dynamic. Providing documentation is the next one. I actually can just show you. It's in, okay, where did my Explorer go? Did it just like hide on me? Where did I put it? I think it's in the score service. Yeah. Issue out there with like 100 something upvotes that says add emoji support. And that's why I even downloaded it. I thought I could. And people are telling me like I can edit the settings, but I tried that and it didn't do anything. So yeah, so these are the next rules. Basically I need to do all the stuff that I'm doing on the command line, like in the main method right now, into each one of these methods. So this is going to be my score service. It's going to call the same stuff that I do, and then it's going to create that new score section for me. So at the end, I'll be able to create the score object using the service and generating everything for me. So here's a few things of what is going to happen. So here's one. If I have a valid new spec file, 10 score. So I'll show you what that means. So if I go to my new spec validator, for example, this thing, if it has any rules that fail, it's going to lose points. So that's where it's going to be hard to figure out how to do that in a I don't know. We'll have to figure out how to do that and how to weigh it, but we'll start small. So if you add an icon, or if you don't have an icon, if you don't have tags, there's a lot more to go through, because like there's a lot inside of a new spec. So if there's not a repository, I need to add a rule there. If the project URL doesn't exist, I need to add a rule there. The license isn't defined, or there's two different licenses. There's one with a URL license, and there's one with an actual file in the project. Let's actually see if there is any in there. So this one doesn't do it. So there's multiple ways to do it. So we have to go through all of those different use cases. I've only done like a handful. I did like 4 of them just for fun. And I got to go through each one of them. So this one needs to be completed. We'll go through all the best practices and stuff like that. I wrote a doc about it recently, so we'll be able to do that. And then for some of the other sites, like we have to do the package content validations, and there's a lot of separate ones. So one of the bigger ones are in the score service here. So provides documentation. So this one is going to be I don't know how to do it yet, but providing an example. So not many packages actually like put an example in the package, and I don't think people even know about it. The other thing too is like public APIs have comments. So this one's going to be a fun challenge, because we're going to look at the assemblies of the inside of these. See how they have like the XML files. So these provide the comments for your package. So what we're going to do is we're going to
look at the DLL and then look at the XML file and see if it has 20% or more XML comments. So basically from the DLL, the assembly, we have to grab however many members there are in it and then compare with how many actual comments that the XML file has. So that'll be a fun challenge because it'll involve a little bit of like reflection and stuff like that. Supports multiple platforms. So this one's an interesting one. You might see here, like this one supports a lot of different platforms. So Net Standard is kind of this portable platform for a lot of different assets, but you have like Net Framework, which is .NET Framework 4.5 and 4.6 and things like that. And so we want to basically have or let the user know like, hey, you need to be targeting at least Net Standard 2.0 and also the latest, which is Net 5 at the time of this stream. So that's kind of what we'll be doing in that section. That one's a hard one. I don't think we have any APIs that let us do that or let us know that. I mean, we can hard code it obviously to say like, if this lib folder contains a Net Standard 2.0 or a Net 5, we're going to start with that probably because we want to make progress on this, but we want to make it more dynamic in the future, such as like grab the latest version of .NET and make sure that that's being targeted. So that's a challenge. We'll see how we do that. Passing static analysis. This one's going to be a huge challenge, but there's a lot of code that we can leverage from the ecosystem already. So I'll figure out something here, but what I have right now is errors, warnings, lints, and formatting. So that mostly should be taken care of, but I think there's some analyzers I can use here. And then there's also some code does all the health checks for assemblies. So there's also all these health checks. These are right here. What these are is basically, do you have a signature for your assembly? And we can check that out pretty easily. All this is open source. Do you have source link? I don't think we'll add that in right now, but it is something that's valid. Deterministic is brand new. So does this DLL, it doesn't have a snippet, but basically what it is was this DLL using a specific flag for determinism? So you can reproduce using the same DLL over and over again. Compiler flags is another one too, which is, was it using this the latest tooling to generate the compiler flags? So there's a lot of things in here, and we'll add all those health checks into this section of static analysis because we're just doing some analysis on some DLLs and stuff. And then the last one is supported updated dependencies. This one is going to be a hard one. I don't know if I'll be able to pull it off without some help of other talented folks, but this one is basically going to be, I have to look at every single dependency. So let's actually look at that. So this one will, dependencies are up here. So the dependencies you'll see are like .NET Standard, all this other type of stuff. If we go to the NuGet site, for example, you'll see all these dependencies. So you'll see that they have like these constraints of greater than or equal to 1.6. Well, the thing about it is that we want to ensure that all of the dependencies are the latest version. So if they don't have these like these special version range syntaxes and they have like a hard-coded version and that version's old, we want to make sure that they're getting the latest version that they can. So for example, for this one, it says greater than or equal to 1.6.1. So again, like this is a really, really old version. When was this updated? Like 12 days ago, it looks like. So like this is saying, okay, get me 1.6.1 or above, but you'll see that like the latest was 2.0.3. 1.6.1 was like 4 years ago. So the reason why we want the latest updated dependencies is because, not only like functionality and features, but really for like security reasons as well. So you always want to have like the latest stuff. This is an old example, but that's one of the ideas. What else do I have here? Package supports the latest .NET SDKs. So this one's going to be kind of similar to those TFMs I was saying, which is you at least support the latest latest .NET version that's out there. So if we go back to this example, this package does not support net 5.0. So that is the latest version. Or was that right? Yeah. So if I looked at a different package though, maybe like mock, I don't know. Well, I should look. No, that one doesn't support it either. Automapper maybe. Nope. Automapper doesn't either. I don't think XUnit does it? No. I think Entity Framework Core might. We'll have to find it. Nlog might actually. No, really? I mean, authors don't really have a reason to upgrade today because, for the most part, net standard. So this one does. So, do they support the latest version? Because this one's backwards compatible for net standard 2.1 and net core 3.1. So we want to make sure that authors are targeting, because as you can tell, like nobody is actually targeting the latest, and this has been out for a little bit since last November. So getting more people onto these later versions is pretty important, at least for like all their dependencies and what they're targeting. So let's see. Do I have this public or I gotta read back up. Fair enough. I stub out tests, especially when I run into problems. Yeah, this is like just a side project for me right now. So I will eventually get there, but we're getting closer every day. I'm actually really impressed with how far I've come so far for this idea, because I felt like this was actually going to be a very, I don't know, heroic thing to do because it's such a large thing, but all the pieces are already there for the most part. It's just like coming together and making that solution and then making it a command line tool. Let's see, PowerShell versus PowerShell. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Let's see. Is it? I'm just guessing it's PowerShell. I forget what PowerShell's. What is PowerShell's command for it again? It's something weird. I don't even know. I haven't used PowerShell for a really long time. Is it get version? I don't even know. Yeah, doesn't even help me. Oh. Online help. Can I just get the version? So PowerShell 7.1 probably. How do you get the version of PowerShell? Am I being? Oh, really? Oh, maybe you're talking about something else. Add history, clear history, about. Oh, is that what it is? No, it can't be. Oh my gosh, I hate this syntax so much. Is that what it is? Get host, select version. Oh god, I hate that so much. So bad. Okay, let's see. Other latest terminal added support. I thought it was on the latest version. I downloaded this. Maybe this is old version. 1.5. Ooh, maybe this one. Let's try it.
try it out. Let's go to the bin folder for it. So, okay, so .NET, score.dll, score, and then autofac 6.1, I think is a version. Nope, no emojis. Wait, do I have emojis? I don't think I have emojis. Let's add an emoji. What am I doing? Score dumper. Where's my utilities? Follows NuGet conventions, and then how do I do this again? Emoji. I don't remember what it is. Emoji dot known dot, let's do an airplane. Follows NuGet conventions. I think that should work. Nope. Still a big old question mark. Dang. Yeah, I played around with emojis on Windows for a little bit. Dang. Do I have this public and kept? Not yet. I've only had it for like a couple days, like in terms of dev work. So I wanted to get enough out there that you could just run the command and also get the tool, so that like published. So when I have both of that done, I'm gonna open source it. It might take me a little bit, but I'll have it open soon. I probably need to reserve the tool ID and stuff like that. Some kind of analyzers for Roslyn. Do you think so? That'd be kind of cool. I know, like target framework. I thought they had something for it. I just don't know what it would be. Oh, maybe? That'd be cool. If I mean, I don't know. I want to use it. I don't know how to use I honestly haven't used many analyzers in Roslyn, so I'd have to get schooled by somebody, let them teach me how to use them. System reactive is 5.0. Yeah, there's a lot of packages that are going to 5.0. It's just slower than normal. Because there's like no reason to right now for most libraries. Like they already support the same thing that 5 supports. But when 6 comes out, definitely we'll need to have a lot of bump. PowerShell releases. Let me know if you want to pair on it. Yeah, for sure. I'll get you added. Or I'll just open source it soon. But yeah, I'm gonna jump off for a little bit. I definitely need to go get some dinner, and I probably will be on later tonight. So yeah, catch me in, I don't know, probably 3-4 hours or something like that. So other than that, I'm gonna end the stream today. Thank you all so much, especially those of you interacting on chat. YouTube, I haven't actually checked any of the comments or anything like that. So we will see you all hopefully later tonight, and we'll have a more regular occurrence starting this month. January was a weird month, that's for sure.